I mess around with Asian stuff. I definitely was nervous about doing like a live thing, but it's really just like hanging out and getting to Zoom while I'm cooking. I find a lot of inspiration in food. I put the cauliflower in first, then the orzo, the cherries, the onions, the spinach, the dressing, olive oil, lemon juice, honey, Dijon mustard, salt and pepper, and then the cheese. So one of the things, I don't know what kind of cauliflower you guys got, and one of the things I wanted to talk about was substitutions, because I feel like right now with sort of not knowing what our grocery store is gonna have, like I did get a head of cauliflower, but I also bought those bags of already diced cauliflower. Could be really good for this recipe because if you're trying to feed this to kids who are picky about veggies, it's ideal because it's small and it blends in with the orzo. Cutting up the cauliflower, I like mine in smaller pieces. So anyway, it depends on how fine you like your cauliflower. I like mine a little bit smaller because, like I said, I can hide it from Brody. But basically, you just need to break it up into smaller pieces. So it's really more depending on your preferences. Like I make a lot of roasted broccoli and I cut it small enough because I want it to get crispy. So I sort of feel like the same with the cauliflower. It's like I was gonna try to have all this ready ahead of time, then I'm like, well, you know, if somebody's gonna be cooking at the same time, I don't want it to be like just me like throwing, you know, being Rachel Ray and just throwing everything into a pan. Plus it's fun to chop things up. I also need to come up with some new recipes. I'm actually feeling a little like uninspired right now, I think because I am cooking so much. So I need to try some new things. A lot of times when I get bored, I venture into more Asian and Indian dishes, which is good because they're healthy and usually meatless. So like this is sort of a staple for us as like a meatless Monday dish, but I think it's also something you could add shrimp or chicken to if you want to get more protein. For me, like the first week of all of this was really hard because we're social and we're out all the time. And when I did my first FaceTime, or I think I FaceTimed with one friend and then I did a Zoom with a group of friends. It was amazing what it did for my like sanity and mental state. Just put it on a baking sheet and then it's garlic and salt and pepper and olive oil. And this is where I'm really bad about following recipes. I sort of just do my own thing. And I like garlic and I love olive oil, so I do always do more than they call for, especially on the garlic, and sort of like, well, hey, garlic's good for your immune system, right? So why not more of that? I think with recipes in general, people have to be not afraid to substitute. Like you see a recipe that has something you don't like. So sure, garlic and onion offers a lot of flavor and I think can be beneficial, but if it bothers you or you don't like it, don't use it. You can fill in with, salt and pepper and maybe like herbs or something else that might, like green onions or scallions, like that could be good because they're a little bit lighter. To not be afraid to try new things and to, dig things out of your pantry that you may have had forever and not have used, tuna fish and sardines and anchovies, which of course is not everybody's favorite things, but you can do some amazing things with those. All right, so once you get the cauliflower all set with the olive oil, salt and pepper, garlic if you want it, stick it in the oven on 400 for so I think it depends. If your pieces are larger, it'll take longer to cook. You want it to get soft and a little bit charred, or browned, just so it's nice and soft. So yeah, so now also you can put on the orzo because both of those will cook while you're making the dressing. See, what else do I need? So onions are sliced and cherries, so they're all for the dressing. So like dried cherries, sometimes they're hard to find and that's for the dressing. I like to cut mine a little bit smaller so they're not too big of pieces, but I think you could also use dried cranberries or another kind of dried fruit. I'm gonna have the water boiling for the orzo. That shouldn't take too long to cook. You want that to cook a little bit less than the box calls for. And now we'll make the dressing. So anyone else having ant problems already? I mean, our house is old and we have open floors, not open floors, but we have holes pretty much from up from the ground. So I'm not surprised when we get them. So let's get on to the dressing. So you're just gonna get a bowl and whisk everything together. So we have olive oil and lemon juice and honey and Dijon, all good things. And again, some of those things can be substituted if you don't have them. So it calls for red onion and I just slice them. I don't dice them for this, so it's like larger pieces, so it's easier to pick out, because not everybody likes onion. Oh, shoot. Well, I already messed up because I was just saying I like these sliced, and I went right into dicing them, so I'll do both. You know, some people are afraid to do stuff in the kitchen because they're afraid they're going to like mess up, and it's like, it's really not anything to mess up. Like, you're gonna eat it unless you like burn it, which has happened to all of us, but oh, now I'm crying from the onions. Woo!
You have tricks for cutting onions?
I don't have tricks for cutting onions. I know people tell me all the time, every time I complain about it, but I couldn't find onions like 2 weeks ago, and I was panicked. So like the next time I got onions, I started dicing them and putting them in the freezer because I'm like, I can't live without onions. Well, I planted about 20 or 15 onion plants this weekend and garlic plants because I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna start growing my own. And again, I don't measure stuff, so I just sort of pour things into a bowl. So olive oil, lemon juice, and if you have fresh lemons, that's even better, but I don't right now. It is sort of nice to just be able to squeeze it out. All right, honey. If you have local honey, that's always the preferred for me, especially because of allergies and stuff. I have the Dijon honey, lemon juice, and olive oil. Black pepper, lots of it if you like pepper, not so much of it if you don't like it. And I always get yelled at that I don't put enough salt in things, but I love salt. Go ahead and just whisk that up and then set it aside until the orzo is done. Next thing we need to do is the cherries and the feta. I already have the onions cut. So if you have dried cherries, if they're a little bit smaller pieces, you're not getting like a huge, sticky, sweet piece. But yeah, so this recipe is, I think, is healthy. It's flexible. It can be used, it's good cold and warm. I do like eating it warm right up, after you've made it, but it's really good leftover and eating it right out of the fridge. It's just I think it's a really good pasta salad. All right. I got the big bowl going. So this is the cauliflower that I did. It was like the bagged cauliflower. I actually sort of really like it because all I had to do is mix it with the garlic, salt, pepper, and olive oil. And it's already these like perfectly like bite-sized pieces. So chopped cauliflower, basically. I have the full cauliflower going too, but I thought I would try it. Figured this was a good time. It's definitely more cauliflower than the recipe calls for, but it's sort of like, well, there's no harm in that. Sorry, I just started humming like I normally do in the kitchen because I'm usually in here by myself. So the fun part is at this point, you can just throw everything into the bowl. The cauliflower, the orzo, the onions, the berries, spinach. I like spinach, so I'll put a lot in. Because again, no harm in having a little bit extra. The orzo, I want to use it more. Like this was the main thing I started using it for, and I'm like, oh, I love the size of it. Boop, boop. And the other nice thing is because I did use extra cauliflower and extra spinach, I could always just add some more olive oil if it's dry. And I do love feta. I think feta is so good. But I also like to crumble it a little bit more because sometimes I don't like the big pieces. The pasta is warm, so like anything, the spinach wilts a little bit, the cheese melts a little bit. I'm gonna probably dump the whole thing of feta in because I like feta. Or you put the feta on the side and you can top it for people who like it. Then you just mix it all together. Oh my God, it's so good. I'm so ready to enjoy this. It's a pretty salad. It has good color. It's pretty easy to make. So I feel like it's something good for like potlucks. Yeah, so that's it. Ready to serve. Now I need some bowls. I feel like I'm missing something. That seemed a lot easier than I was expecting it to be. Todd will yell at me though because he thinks I need more salt.
More salt.
More salt. So, and it makes a lot too. There we go. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll tell you the one good thing that we've learned during all this is our kids are friends and they've been hanging out together. And I'm like, okay, this could be a lot worse. Nellie's. Tell your brother to come down. Actually, can you grab me another bowl?